And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. For today's podcast episode, we're actually going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing our different shows and what got us into basically how it actually evolutionized how we actually view TV shows compared to what we had back in the 90s. With me, I have my good friend Tomeka, my other friend.
Charlie is on
Yeah,
mute.
I've been taking him off of mute.
Uh-oh. Like he froze.
Let's see.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about how we evolutionized TV shows and stuff like that, and how we used to watch them back in the 90s compared to now. To me, The Sopranos has always been one of my favorite shows. It's evolutionized the way that we watch television. It was actually the first TV series, if you think about it, that had this theatrical kind of feel to it, where you actually have like a 90-minute show without commercial interruptions or anything like that when it comes down to HBO and things like that they were doing. And David Chase was actually the lead into that whole entire thing. And it was just crazy. It was a crazy time because nobody would have actually thought that this would actually work. A 90-minute show, no commercial interruptions. Even the cast didn't even know what they had at that time or anything like that either, which is the crazy thing because they even said it. They said, look, we don't know what we have or anything like that. We don't know how big this was going to be until they got into the second season when people were asking about where's Pussy at, which is Tony's friend. Tony's friend is actually named Pussy. I'm not actually saying Pussy, but yeah.
Oh boy.
But yeah. So that was like that came up a huge thing, right? Because everybody's wondering where this guy is. So next thing you know, there was actually where's Pussy T-shirts, where is he at, and stuff like that. The Sopranos became this big, huge thing in 1999. Nobody thought that they would actually go this far, and now here they are in 1999 doing The Sopranos. This show is a big hit. It's a big thing for me whenever you look at TV shows and the way that we actually used to view TV shows in the 90s. Because in the 90s, we didn't really get a lot of smart television. You got cheesy lines, cheesy dialogue, like I mentioned, and bad writing. What do you think, though, as far as the writing goes with the 90s and things like that?
Yeah, I guess it matches the time we were in. Like everything was kind of cheesy. To piggyback off you with the Sopranos, I'm just now watching it, but you can see how dated it was. Just like the flashy jewelry and everything else. And from what I remember when the Sopranos was on air, everyone was talking about how much of a phenomenon it was because it showed like gangsters in a different light.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got Tony, and he's killing people, but also he's in therapy and he's
Right.
taking medication. So you can look at like I guess mental health if you want to put that into it. You can incorporate that into it as well since he's taking medicine.
This is
Um,
true.
and then it incorporates all the old, well, not old, but like the previous actors and actresses from other gangster movies, like the therapist. I forgot her name, but she was in Goodfellas.
Yep, she was in Goodfellas.
Yeah,
She played the wife of one of the Goodfellas of Henry Hill,
yeah, yeah. So
Ray Loretta's character.
I think The Sopranos showed just the normalcy of a gangster boss. you know,
Exactly.
my kids in school, my kids acting up, I whacked this person. Then it's like my girl gotta go to college, and then it's like this, that. So you got the stereotypes, but also it turns it on its head.
Definitely, because it goes into the normal life of the mob, coming
Yeah.
home from his wife, acting like a normal husband,
Mhm.
and then also too, you're dealing with normal everyday stuff that normal families deal with when it
Yeah.
comes down to family stuff. You have the kids, like you mentioned, acting up, the teenagers acting up. Then you
Mhm.
also have another thing too. You actually have in the first season, you have Tony's mother and
Mhm.
everything too, who is very manipulative and
Mhm.
everything. Is actually a splitter. and everything too. She was diagnosed as a splitter, where she was basically splitting up her family
Oh
and
wow.
stuff like that too, and things like that. I have to show you the exact term for splitter,
Okay.
but that's exactly what they diagnosed her with later on in the season. Whenever Tony's actually talking about his mother to Melfi. But yeah, this is actually the first time we actually get to see a gangster go to therapy and everything. But later on in the season, you wind up finding out that he's actually going in there for strategy
Mm.
rather than going in for healing and self help
Hmm.
and everything too. So basically, everything that she's teaching him and helping him with is actually helping him to become a better gangster.
Wow.
And she doesn't realize what she's doing until like later on
Mm-hmm.
in the series and everything. But the writing is very good. It
Yeah.
was ahead of its time. It
Yeah.
turned the heel of everything that we knew as far as TV goes on
Mm-hmm.
its head.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, the cast didn't even think that, hey, we have something here that's bigger than what we think we have and everything too. So that's another thing I really appreciated whenever you look at the Sopranos stuff is the writing, the creativity of David Chase. Not only the creativity of David Chase, but also too the music choices that he would actually bring into the show for foreshadowing. Everything was there for a reason whenever
Mhm.
you look at the show as a whole. And the writers they brought down on their show is just fantastic. Even Steve Buscemi directed a couple episodes from The Sopranos,
Oh
and
wow.
then the actor who played Christopher Moltisanti wrote for a couple episodes for The Sopranos.
Mm.
So you have an actor, they gave them work, which is actually really cool. That normally they say, okay, you're an actor, stick to what you know
Mm-hmm.
and everything. You don't need to be doing no writing. We have writers for that. But no, David Chase gives them a chance to expand on things that they never would have thought they would actually get a chance to expand on.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It really is if you think about it, because you don't really hear about showrunners, show people who are actually in charge of something giving creatability to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
found that very interesting.
Yeah. Oh,
Um, so what about you though? What for you? What show changed the way that you watch TV?
oh, that's a huge question.
This is what I want to know. I want
Oh,
to know because there's also going to be another show that I'm going to get into a little bit later
yeah.
and everything. Because if it was for The Sopranos, this show would not have been around. So
Hmm.
we're going to get to that in a minute, in a few minutes. But go on
Okay.
ahead.
Um, I guess I could go with Star Trek. Next gen for me. I'm a half Trekkie. Okay, I admit it. I'm half Trekkie, but I'm not full Trek. But Star Trek Next Gen, and I was talking to my sister about it. It's amazing how the technology in Star Trek Next Gen, like how like you have the doors closing and opening and the all the communication devices and everything they touched on is what we have today. And I guess you can incorporate the original Star Trek too as a precursor, but for its time in like the 80s or 90s, I would say that was probably revolutionary to just have all of that. And then even today, like your question, I would incorporate it as a cultural phenomenon.
Mm.
'Cause even today, we see the Facebook memes and everything else with Picard, putting his hands in his head, and all the super Trekkie fans, they like to drink, um, was it Earl Grey tea? Because
Yeah.
he always drinks it. And you got all these quotes, and then there's data, and just even people that don't like Star Trek, they know basically about all the characters, and especially Whoopi. Like even today, like because I watched The View, and even every so often somebody would geek out, be like, "Oh, Whoopi, you were on Star Trek," and she'd be like, "Yeah, so and I was." You
I used to
know,
have her action figure, to be honest with you.
see what I'm talking about?
So
I would say that changed the world. But that's
right.
just me.
But
This is
another
this
thing,
is its own lane, I would say.
I could definitely see it being evolutionizing. To be honest with
Yeah.
you, when you look at Star Trek, especially look at all the cons though. Look at all the stuff that they actually have for Star Wars. To be honest with you, get this, even The Sopranos has a con.
Really?
Yeah, they actually have a con. I
When
didn't
you
know that.
going to that, John?
Huh?
When you
Trust
going to
me, I'm gonna find out where they're having it at, and I'm gonna be there. To be
that?
honest with you,
You better be there and report back.
because I found that out through the Facebook group that I'm a part of for The Sopranos.
Oh,
But
cool.
yeah, they actually have a con. But it's actually crazy to think of all the conventions that they have for Star Trek and the
Mhm.
fans and the community within the Star Trek community and everything up. And they don't care about genders. They don't care about anything. They accept you for who you are, which is one of the beautiful things about that con, about
Yeah.
those, about that and everything. My uncle Paul went to their conventions before
Oh, wow. Was he
and
a trip?
everything. Yeah, he was a huge Star Trekkie.
Oh, wow.
Matter of fact, he had all the VHS tapes recorded and stuff like that on TV and things like that. So yeah, he was a huge Star Trek buff
Dang.
and everything. I'm more of the new generation where, of course, you actually have data and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm more on that level compared to
yeah.
like the oldies and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Don't get me wrong, I like the old stuff and everything too, but I'm more on the data and stuff like that because Data was my favorite character in Star Trek.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like all of them, and then you just have like War, the Klingon,
Right.
Data. It depends on what how you pronounce it. I say Data, but I think
Mm,
he said Data, Mister.
yeah.
No, he said Mister Data.
Data. Yeah, it's
Data,
data, not data. But I call
Data,
them data.
Data.
Yeah,
Yeah,
data. But yeah,
yeah,
I'm a huge Star Trek fan when it comes down to the new generation and stuff like that.
yeah. And
Uh
you have Picard, the show,
yeah,
so that proves that even today that people still are interested in that franchise.
exactly. It's amazing how far they actually push the envelope with the Star Trek stuff now.
Yeah, totally.
Because in 2009 we actually had the remakes and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
now retelling of an older character, which is Picard, and having his own series, which is more interesting to me than having the movies and stuff like that, because you can do a lot more with a TV series versus a movie and stuff like that too. So I'm actually going to be checking out Picard soon. I've heard good things about it. I
Yeah,
just haven't had a chance yet because of other things that I wanted to actually look at. But yeah, Picard is one of those things that I'm very interested in.
yeah, and I have to mention too because everybody else will kill me if I don't, about Deep Space Nine.
Oh yeah.
'Cause I'm getting into it, and at first I was like, okay, that's way over there because I'm just next gen. But I'm finishing up the Deep Space Nine series, and I can kind of see the appeal of it as well. Like Benjamin Sisko, the coolest guy ever on the planet, and then you have like just this conflict of like this refugee people, like the whoops, it just I just forgot everything and everybody's gonna kill me. But anyway, Deep Space Nine is really
But
cool.
okay, so let me just say this though too. We actually have memes and stuff like that for the Soprano stuff too. That I
Oh,
and things like that too, which is actually funny now because they even have like Lego Soprano stuff that people make and memes that they
really?
make. Yeah, I'm gonna have to show you some of that stuff. Some of that
Yeah,
stuff's
tell
actually
me, please
hilarious.
do.
But let's go on ahead. This is another show. It wasn't for the Sopranos. This show
Mhm.
would not have been around,
Okay,
and that show is Breaking Bad.
of course.
Because let me just say this: it has that same type of things that like the Soprano type of TV show, but you actually have a story arc about Walter White, who's a chemist teacher in high school, and they don't have enough money to actually fund the teachers or anything like that. He gets diagnosed with having cancer.
Mm,
So he's like, okay, I don't have any money in my fund to actually leave behind anything for my family. And then get this, his wife's brother happens to be a DEA agent and everything too. So the DEA agent said, "Hey, look, check out everybody that I actually busted for crack and things like that." Next thing you know, his wheels are spinning. You see his wheels spinning as he's sitting there, and he has cancer. He's being depressed, and
mm.
then he's like, "You mean to tell me I can make this much money making crystal meth?" Next thing you know, he winds up making pure crystal meth. Then that's his story arc. He goes from a guy who doesn't have anything to leave behind with his kids or anything, to all of a sudden now he's in this drug world and he wants to take over this drug world. And it's no longer about leaving anything behind for his kids. It's now wanting about having control over everything and becoming the big drug kingpin.
Yeah, I was amazed at how he did not get caught, but he was very close.
And trust me, watch a couple more seasons
I saw
because
him.
you did.
Yeah, I didn't think he
He
got caught.
No, but here's the thing: his brother-in-law act well. I don't want to get it's spoiler territory, but there is some stuff that
Spoiler
winds up
alert.
happening to where he does get caught, but he
Mhm.
doesn't get caught. If that makes sense, because certain things that actually happens within the show itself.
Yeah.
But the writing is top notch. You have a story arc with the characters and everything. You will care about Walter White. You're wondering if he's going to get caught or not. You have Jesse Pinkman and everything too, who winds up being this comical relief at the very start of the first season, and then his transition starts coming in later on to where it's a more of a serious type of role to the point where he doesn't want to do this anymore, and Walter's just pushing him into it even further and
Yeah.
everything too. And it just is so much good writing in this TV series. And not only that, but the person who plays Jessica Jones is in this TV series though too. I think she gets
Oh,
introduced
yeah.
in I think in
Mhm.
season 4. I
Yeah,
think she
she's
gets
like the
introduced.
girlfriend, right?
Yeah, she plays Jesse's girlfriend
Yeah.
and everything. But yeah, I agree with Luke. It's such a fantastic show. I mean, the writing, the originality behind it is excellent. This show is beginning from start to finish. It just doesn't slow down for Walter at all
Mhm.
either. Because the whole entire thing is centered around Walter White. And you're wondering if he's going to get caught or not. You're wondering what's going to happen with the DEA agent, if he's going to bring him down. It's a suspenseful type of TV show. I really enjoy it. And then, but there's Better Call Saul, but Better Call Saul doesn't have that same flavor
Mhm.
as Breaking Bad does. But it's still good as a prequel show, but it's just not as good.
Yeah. Yeah. And Walter he outsmarted all the criminals um with just the intelligence, like
Mhm.
just these mind games he would play and the way he would get out of situations. Um I've never seen anything like that before. Just using that intelligence and as a chemist teacher and you're making meth. Like, I wonder how many chemist teachers were like, "Oh, okay, well, maybe I can make meth too." Walter White can do it, and they ain't paying me enough money. I
I'm not
want
responsible for anything that Tamika says on the show.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, he's showing you how to make meth, like, step
Right.
by step.
Right.
So, if you're a chemist teacher, you can make meth too.
So, what else do you?
Why don't we change the subject? I'm just talking about
I
meth.
know. I'm dead. So what do you? So we're not going by numbers or whatever, but what else do you have as far as another show that you have in mind?
Um, I'm gonna do about 2 at once. Like, I say The Office, the
Mm,
American version, was pretty good. Just the way that they have the camera pan on the person. And the person has some snarky reaction, they just pan on them, and that documentary type style feel of a TV show. I mean, I know The Office was came from the original Office, which is the British version, and they did everything else. But to
right.
me, it being part of the US version with Steve Carell and his genius and all the cast members, it was something I've never seen before. And then I guess too for me too would be Parks and Recs, because that's the first show I think I've seen that talked about government work in a funny way, like how it's the writing that's really good. Because usually if you're doing a show about government workers, how is that funny, right?
True.
Parks and Recreation, whoa boy, whoa, and then but somehow they made it work. So I say those 2 shows changed comedy, and just
Yeah.
the style of the camera angles and the docu what would you call
Memory.
it? No,
kind of like
documentary,
right,
like
a documentary kind of feel to it. I don't
yeah,
know
like
exactly what it's
a
called,
mockumentary.
but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but yeah, definitely has that kind of documentary kind of feel to it. Has that real TV kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, and then on Parks and Recs, there were two people. I think it was Donna and I forgot the Indian guy's name, but it had this thing where it's like treat yourself, and then that took off like wildfire even today. And people are like treat yourself, and then they're like, oh, my bank account.
Exactly.
So Parks and Recs is the reason people are broke now.
There should be a disclaimer on there.
There
We're not,
should be one. It should just scroll across the screen and say, check your bank account before you treat yourself.
but I do agree with Brandy though about this about Bones being a good show. I think the writing in that show is
Seen
good.
Bones. Yeah.
It's good. The writing in it is really good. I saw a couple of seasons of Bones and everything, a couple of episodes. The writing is really good, very relatable. It actually tackles on the forensics of the police departments and stuff like that, on how they actually take someone down on criminals and stuff like that. I thought it was very good,
Oh,
especially
okay.
working with cold cases and stuff. I thought it was very
Oh,
interesting.
cool.
The other one I have is here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of spin-off shows. Spin-off shows are iffy with me and stuff
Okay.
like that in certain aspects. It has to have the right kind of flavor to it, the right kind of thing for it. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I like Better Call Saul, but not as much as I did with Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Whenever they announced Cobra Kai as being a
Mhm.
TV series, and I was thinking to myself whenever this got first announced, like, I thought the story was already told with the Karate Kid movies, the first three Karate Kid movies. Why would they want to go on ahead and waste their time and energy into something that was 30 plus years ago and spend that much cash on a show that maybe nobody might want to watch?
Yeah.
And of course, this is back when YouTube Red was being popular, premium, and all that stuff. And of course, now it's on Netflix. And it wasn't until I started watching Collider Live and everything, and they had the cast from Cobra Kai on there, and their passion for Cobra Kai. That's when I started paying attention to that. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go on ahead, subscribe to YouTube Red for a month because the new season's about to start. So I'll binge watch the first two seasons, then cancel the account later.
Yeah. As you would.
Yep, and that's exactly what I did, and I've been hooked on Cobra Kai since. I love Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is probably one of my favorite shows that's actually a spin-off show of an older movie. Because, like I said, I'm not a fan of TV shows based on movies
Hmm.
or anything like that either, or spin-offs. To me, I'm good with it just being like a one-off. Like, for instance, they made a Taken TV show. I don't know why, but they did it. Then they also made a Shooter TV series, which is also the Mark Wahlberg film, Shooter. I never understood the reason behind that
Hmm.
and everything too, because I figured it works better as a movie versus a TV show. You don't really need to have that. You can have just a one-off with your movies and that's it.
Yeah.
But it depends on how they do it and how they lay down that layers that they need to make a TV show work for a spinoff. But with Cobra Kai, it touches on all aspects. It has a nostalgia feel to it. It has everything you want in the Cobra Kai show. You have the original characters and actors from the original Karate Kid movies that actually works and everything too. And you also feel that feud between Johnny and also Daniel as well. That's been fuming for 30 years. It's such a good show, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I have to finish watching it, but I think you wanted to review it.
Yeah, I wanted to review that sometime soon
Yeah.
because I'm gonna do a revisiting of the first three. I'm gonna review the first season and then go into it on season 2 and then season 3, and then once season 4 comes out, we'll go on and go from season 4.
Okay. Just let me know. But yeah, the little bit I seen, I think is interesting that it paints this gray area from what we knew about the Karate Kid at first, like that the bad guy, quote unquote, isn't really.
Crease.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kreese, he has a story too, and you get to see his side of things. So
Right.
I think it is interesting how there are so many gray areas about who you thought you were rooting for, and then it kind of turns you on your head, and you're like, "Oh crap, ooh, I'm rooting for Cobra Kai now. What's wrong with me?"
exactly, because
Yeah.
I like how it flips the table over for, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because you see one aspect from another viewpoint, and then you see another one from the other, and then you realize these guys are both the same in some ways. Daniel and Johnny are both the same in certain ways. It's just the conflicts that happened during their childhood is what brought them to split and everything too. Especially when you look at Johnny's past life with his father and stuff like that. And my favorite line from Cobra Kai with that part was, Johnny grew up in a big home. He was rich.
Hmm.
And remember what Daniel said. He said this. He goes, "Man, you live in this beautiful home. You live in a beautiful home and everything." He goes, "Yeah, but just because you live in a beautiful home does not necessarily mean that you're happy."
Mm.
I love that because then it shows representation of who Daniel is, who is has nothing and everything too, and how happy he is compared to Johnny, who has everything, who's miserable.
Yeah.
So I definitely like that aspect
Yeah. Yeah.
because it makes you feel for certain characters that you never thought that you could actually feel for before.
Yes, and I hate it at the same time. I
Right.
just want to root for Daniel's son, but
That was
sometimes he can come off as a prick. So
Yeah, I'll own up to that. Daniel does come off as a prick, especially with
yeah,
him being a car salesman and everything else too.
I don't know what happened to him.
I don't know either.
Mm-mm.
But what else do you have? That's what I'm wondering.
Game of Thrones was good because
Yep.
it Game of Thrones, boom. Game of Thrones is excellent. And I was shocked that it was so good because it's like a period piece. And usually a period piece set in, I don't know what time period it was set in, but usually something like that where you have knights and castles and everything else, you wouldn't think that this would capture the world's attention. But the writing was really good because not
Hmm.
only do you have like this period piece and you have like knights and then you have princesses and princes, but you also have dragons.
Yep.
Then you have zombie dragons, and then you have zombie people, and then you have like superstitions and cults and all. It's like a
The
hodgepodge.
mythologies, right?
Yeah, and sex, lots of sex. Every 5 minutes is sex, and then that's what got people too. And then you have memes.
Yep.
And once you have meme on a show, once a show has a meme, that's when I think it's successful. Like
It becomes a pop
made it.
culture. You're right. It
Yeah,
becomes
it
a
made
pop culture.
yeah, it made it. Yeah. So yeah, I suggest everybody watch Game of Thrones.
And I
But
actually have that on my list too.
sometimes it's like, okay, I want you to put your clothes on. Like sometimes you get sick of the sex. You're like, okay, that's enough sex right now. Can you just stop sleeping? And then you got like incest, and then you're like, oh. But then I think it's good too because not incest, but sorry, um, the show. I think the show is good because you have all these clans, right? And everybody wants to belong to something. And then you have people identifying like, oh, I'm part of House Stark, or I'm part of like the Targaryens. And even today you have people doing that. So I think that's pretty good too. It has a tribal feel to it. What are you talking about? You should have put that on our time I meth. You don't have to
I had to
scroll
mess with
every
you.
5 minutes.
But here's the thing, though. I have to
Book,
admit,
the books too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go with the books for a minute. I want you to go on ahead, go off the
No,
books for a
I
minute.
didn't finish the book, so no,
Okay.
you can't do that with me.
Okay, not a problem. But here's the thing. I like the fact that they actually based something off the books and then they tried doing their original thing. Yes, it made them fall flat on their faces and everything, but at the same time, it just didn't work at the very end of it when you don't have nothing else to go on
Oh, the book.
either. No, I'm talking about like the show itself. Don't get me wrong, the show in the first couple of seasons is great. Once you
Mhm.
get down to the final seasons and stuff, they're not as good as the other parts of the writing and stuff like that because they don't have any original stuff to go off of because JJ, well, the writer has not even come up with any new material. He's
Yeah,
still writing the book.
Yeah, he got that's my other theory. He got so into like, oh, I'm getting money now. I don't have to write. Like when an author is poor, then they write more because their creativity come out. And
Right.
my theory is the more these people get money, the lazier they get.
Mm. But yeah, but yeah,
I
Brandy is
will tell you the last episode of Game of Thrones, like the series finale, was like, you know,
right.
wasn't that great.
But still, I can still recommend watching it, checking
Yeah,
out for yourselves
totally.
though,
Why?
because
Do.
the first time I watched it, it got too convoluted for me because they're going into different houses that each
Mm,
character represents, each house.
yeah,
I'm like, okay, I need to actually fully on pay attention to this.
yeah,
So I went on ahead, bought the Blu-ray of the first season when the second season started, and that's when I really started paying attention to Game of Thrones.
yeah, in the set.
Because right, and the sex. Can't leave out the sex.
No,
Especially the car yeah, especially Jason Momoa's sex. And stuff like that.
that's some good
So
sex.
anyways, but
He
yeah,
can do a lot.
but yeah, that was actually, to be honest with you, the opening of Game of Thrones was really good. It starts off like
Oh,
a
that was
horror kind of
wonderful.
theme,
Yeah.
because it goes into the White Walkers, which is actually
Mhm,
part of the zombies and everything, like you mentioned.
mhm,
It starts
really.
off like a horror film because you
Oh,
don't expect it. You see the gate opening, you see it's like winter at this big old huge ice wall and everything. It's just
mhm.
shot fantastic. It actually feels like a theatrical movie, which is also another thing too, like the
Yeah,
Sopranos stuff. Like
yeah.
I mentioned, you don't actually get stuff like that from ABC networks or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
So I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. Brandy says, I thought How I Met Your Mother was a really good comedy that left you wanting more. I haven't really got a chance to
I
check.
didn't see that.
I know
I've
people that
heard
love it,
about it, and I know it's like a phenomenon in itself. But I think that's for people that know about it.
right? And I never got a chance to watch it. I know people love the show. It's
Yeah.
just not one of those shows that I checked out personally. But hey, if you guys love it, I'm glad that you love that show. Another thing I want to mention is Dexter
Oh yeah.
also broke every rule in the book when it came down to TV shows. Because
Hmm.
normally what happens is you root for the good guy. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying The Sopranos was not rooting. You're rooting for bad guys in The Sopranos and also too in Breaking Bad, but you're rooting for a serial killer, and you're wondering if the serial killer is going to wind up getting caught. And he also works for forensics on Miami Metro and stuff like that too. And you're wondering if Dexter's going to get caught.
Yeah.
You're wondering what's the outcome for Dexter. That's what keeps you engaged into the show, is the getting caught aspect of it. And this is what glues you in and makes you more enticing into wanting to check this show out, which is something that I really loved about the originality behind it. Yes, it's based off of a book and everything too. And I read the first book, which is just based off of the first season, which is basically page for page of what the first season's about.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I definitely love Dexter. Dexter is one of my favorite shows. I'm ready for the Dexter revival series coming on. I can't wait to see it.
It just got weird to me when he started incorporating like religion, and then he went somewhere south, and I was like, okay. But the
Well,
most tense
mm,
part to me was when John Lithgow was
yeah,
the serial killer, and he went face to face with him, and it was like
yeah.
two serial killers in the same room. That was so intense. I was like, oh my god, there's two serial killers in the same room, and they know each other as serial killers. It was just so awesome to me.
It was great. That was a great time of great writing for that show.
Yeah,
To be
totally.
honest with you,
Totally.
the John Lithgow character is
Yeah.
just fantastic, which is actually the Trinity Killer,
Oh,
and and that was just something that blew my mind because get this, during Thanksgiving, Dexter's not even thinking about Thanksgiving at all.
mm,
He's thinking about taking down John Lithgow's character the whole
yeah,
entire time.
yeah.
And you can definitely tell he's not into Thanksgiving. You can
Mhm.
definitely tell he's edgy. He doesn't, and everything else. And then his wife's also wondering where he has to go. And he goes, "No, I just got to go. I got to take care of something. I'm working a big case." When everybody in the forensics department is right there with him, and the detective is right there celebrating Thanksgiving, and it's like this urge inside of him that he has to go ahead and take down this other um this other serial killer, which I thought that was really good because you're wondering what's the outcome with that.
Yeah, and I can assume that is tense for him.
Right.
He's a serial killer himself, but he's also a family man.
Right.
So it's so many layers, right? And
Right.
he has to compartmentalize. That's what you see in the show. He compartmentalized a lot of things. Like he
Right.
got work, and then he has to kill people, and then he has to get the serial killer, and then he has his wife bitching at him, and then he has his kids, and there's taxes and bills, and he says he has to compartmentalize everything. I assume he just when he killing people, he just taking it out on them.
but but yeah, he does a lot of good research when it comes down to taking down someone and
And
things
it's
like that
smart
too.
too.
He
Isn't it
doesn't
smart? Like, sorry, I'm sorry. I'm just so excited about this show. It's so smart.
it
Like,
is.
because he knows, oh, I kill you this way. Oh, wait, let me wipe down the area, because And then he gets to the scene. He's like, what happened to this person? No prints. Oh, dear. It was you. You did it.
And then
It's
also
like that white
yeah, he's
snap.
investigating his own crime scene, which is
Yeah.
even funnier, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. And then he even eliminates certain evidence so that way the criminal will walk out free so that way he can murder them.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
it's so
true.
good.
It's so true.
Uh but yeah, Brandy said too, Dexter got weird for her too. The ending was definitely disappointing. I have to agree with that on both aspects, but hopefully the Dexter revival stuff will actually be good.
Okay.
Oh.
More
But
people.
anyways, tell me more of but yeah,
Well, I would say Walking Dead for me is good because you have well, first it was based in my hometown. So it was based in Atlanta. Or it started out in Atlanta. But then you also have like just this guy, this sheriff, and he's just waking up and he's just realizing, oh man, everybody's gone. What's going on? And it's like the whole city is just plagued with just zombies, and then you find out it's a virus going on at the end. Spoiler alert. But I thought that Walking Dead was a really good show. It's like it's so good. I mean, I just never would have thought that it would engage people for so long. Just a show about zombies. And all these people are doing is running from zombies and killing them. But I think what captures people is just the human aspect of like people just relating to one another, and then it's like the worst enemy in this series are humans themselves. So it's like you have your clan or the people you're with, and you're trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, but also you have to watch your back from people because all the rules and everything in society is thrown out. So you get to see the carnage nature of human beings. And I thought that was an interesting study of the show as well. Like
I
your
think
worst enemy is the human who has like nothing holding them back. No cops are gonna get them. So they can murder you and take your food and be at the top of the food chain. So it was really good. It just got so weird and kind of redundant after a while, and I dropped off on like season 5 or 6, but up until that, it was really good.
yeah, I definitely have to agree. The Walking Dead is definitely was a good show
Mhm.
back then
Yeah.
compared to now because
Oh,
now we're dealing with an origin of what's his name? That I can't think of his name now. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character,
oh,
but yeah, now they're diving into his
Negan.
character. Yeah,
Negan.
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 Negan. Yeah, now they're dealing with his background story. I'm like, why are you giving us that backstory when you could have actually done that later on in the very first when he was first introduced?
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah. So they're doing a lot of lopsided stuff whenever it comes down to the writing and the creative stuff and things like that. But as far as the first couple of seasons and everything, I definitely love The Walking Dead. But now it just seems like there's no character arcs anymore. It's very
No,
repetitive. There's
yeah,
nothing there. There's no meat on the bone anymore for me to
mhm,
chew on to say, hey, I want to see more. Give me more Walking Dead.
yeah,
I'm like, okay, you saw them take down some zombies. You get to see the same characters. Whoopie doo, I go about my life. But
yeah.
that's about it. But
But all the
um,
people you care about are basically gone.
right,
So
all except Daryl and Carol.
yeah, that takes you out the show as well because you're like, okay, well, the main person I want is dead. So what's the point of me watching this show again?
Exactly.
But I thought
So
it was off the air anyway. When is this final season?
I don't know. I don't know when they're gonna go ahead and get rid of it. I mean, when they're gonna get off the air. To be honest with you. But with that being said, guys, that's gonna be it for the show tonight and everything. Is there anything else that you want to mention or anything like that as for the shows and stuff like that?
I will mention Hell's Kitchen right quick
Okay.
because Gordon Ramsay is awesome. Hell's Kitchen is great. Is you've never seen a reality TV show with chefs, and you have this British guy coming in and cussing you out and telling you that you're a donkey sandwich, and then you got all this other stuff going on. You like, can he say that to people? Like, I don't know. It's just Gordon Ramsay makes that show for me.
Definitely. He definitely does. All right, guys. So get this. We're gonna try and do this again because there's a couple of things on my list that I want to get some more stuff I want to get over to. As far as the Simpsons go, Brandy, here's the thing. I've never been a huge Simpsons fan or anything like that. I never really cared for the Simpsons stuff. That's just me. That's just me and my humor and stuff like that. It's just never landed with me as like
I
I want to. What about you?
Yeah, I grew up with The Simpsons and it was really good. I think when I became an adult, I fell off from it and then I
Hmm.
forgot it was on and I'm like, this show's still on. But I know that The Simpsons caused controversy with a lot of conservative groups because they blame Bart Simpson for the decline of the youth because of the way he was acting. And
Right.
then people saying, eat my shorts, man. And then they're like, oh, he's destroying our youth. Like so,
Then Beavis and Butthead came around.
yeah, Bart Simpson like changed the youth culture. So and then he caused controversy. So I think that that's an honorable mention of
Yep,
the show. But it's
definitely.
still on, and I'm so surprised. That's all I have to say.
All right. So with that being said, guys, go on ahead, like and subscribe to the channel. Also, too, give us a thumbs up. Like I said, like and subscribe. Also, too, if you guys want to get an audio only podcast of the show, how do you do that? You get that wherever you guys get your podcast from. Another thing, too, is if you want to go on ahead donate to the page, how do you do that? You just go to www.gofundme.com/movie lovers podcast. Go on ahead, head over to Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite on Facebook as well. Follow us over there. Follow us underneath the same name on Instagram as well as on Pinterest. And then also, too, go to www.movielovesunite.com for all your entertainment needs and wants. Another thing, too, guys, is we also have a bonfire. No, we don't actually literally have a bonfire, but
Oh, cut it out.
we do have a campaign going on Bonfire, and I'm going to be posting the link shortly to where you guys can get some merch from us. So if you want to go on ahead and support us, go on ahead. The link is going to be below where you guys can actually get some merch. We actually have it up for 17 days or 15 days, I think. But I think day 14. So go on ahead, get you guys some merch before the campaign actually runs out. Another thing too is if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, go to Movie Lovers Unit just follow me at Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter. And then of course, go on ahead, email me at movielovesunite@gmail.com if you're a sponsor or if you want to go on ahead and just talk to me and want to be a guest. Go on ahead and do that as well. Email me over there. And then another thing too is go on and follow me on Stereo as well. We do some shows on Stereo. Go on ahead, follow me there. Movie Loves Unit over there. And of course, you guys can go on ahead, follow me on Schmoes of the North over there. We do a show every Saturday called Mount Schmodown, and I do it with Ben Rayner and Ryan Payne. We just talk about old Schmodown competitors that have come and went and what if scenarios around the Schmodown community. So go ahead, give them a like and a subscribe over there. And of course, you can check us out at 3 o'clock Central Time, 4 o'clock Eastern on Saturdays. And that's going to be it for the show, guys. I can't wait to do this again. Thank you again, Tameka, for coming on the
Yeah, no
show.
problem.
And always until next time, guys, go on ahead, hit that like, smash that like button, smash that share button, and bye bye.